Hello, I'm Spencer Graham. I am a product manager at DAOhouse, a member of Raid Guild, and a contributor to a few other projects, including SaveDai and CommitPool. In my spare time, I help build a quadratic funding protocol called Clr.fund. And today I'm going to talk about how and why DAOs, communities, and protocols can use quadratic funding to fund public goods within their own communities. So first off, for those who are not familiar, I'll start with an overview of Clr.fund itself. Clr.fund is a protocol for efficiently allocating funds to public goods. It uses quadratic funding and strives to be credibly neutral, decentralized, permissionless, trustless, and pseudonymous, while also being resistant to collusion and bribery. So a single instance of Clr.fund is made up of 4 key components. First is a funding round factory, which is responsible for holding the matching pool funds, establishing parameters such as the round length and the native token, and spinning up funding rounds. Second is MACI, which is a zero knowledge proof-based system for collusion-resistant voting. Essentially, it allows users to contribute to the round and allocate their funds to recipients in such a way that they cannot prove how they voted to the outside world. Which means that if somebody is bribed, for example, then their optimal behavior is actually to accept the bribe and then allocate the funds however they'd like, since the briber cannot know how they ended up voting. Third, we have recipient curation, which is essentially a registry of eligible recipients. For the main canonical instance of Clr.fund, we use a Claros TCR, and that allows eligible projects to be added permissionlessly. We've also built a more simple recipient registry where an owner address can add or remove recipients, and developers can build their own as well to fit other needs. Finally, we have Sybil resistance, which is super important for quadratic funding, because if users can split their contributions over multiple accounts, they can gain a disproportionate voting weight and also influence over the outcome of the round. For the canonical instance of Clr.fund, we use BrightID for Sybil resistance. So any BrightID verified user can add themselves to the registry and contribute to the round. Much like the recipient registry, we also have a simpler version that lets an owner address pick and add and remove users from the registry. And then once again, developers can build their own to fit other needs. Okay, so let's quickly move through how a funding round works. So the first thing that happens is that the owner address, which could be a multi-sig or an EOA or even a DAO, calls a function to deploy a new round. Now at any time, any address can add funds to the matching pool. But once the round has started, at any point users on the registry, such as those that have a BrightID verified account, can sign up and contribute to the projects that they like. They can also reallocate their funds at any time during the round in case they change their mind, or maybe they've been bribed and they want to reallocate away from what the briber wants. Once the round ends, the quadratic funding results are calculated, and this includes the quadratic map, the matching, which keeps most of the inputs secret, but also produces a proof that verifies that the results were computed correctly. And once that proof has been produced, then it is published on chain, and the recipients can claim their share of the matching pool, along with the direct contributions. So that's Clr.fund. Before we move on, I want to zoom out a bit. We've been talking about funding public goods. But who is the public in these public goods? Often when we think about public goods, we think about things that few have incentives to create, and yet are beneficial to everybody. And this is what many common examples of public goods like clean water, over-the-air TV, and national defense are meant to describe. But if we think again about these examples, it becomes clear that each of them is actually relevant only to a specific population, or in other words, to a specific domain. So the public in public goods is always referring, even if implicitly, to a particular domain. And we see that within Clr.fund. The canonical instance of Clr.fund was originally designed and currently still is focused on supporting public goods within the domain of Ethereum. And our constitution defines that domain very, very specifically. The individual people, organizations, software, and standards that create, operate, maintain, use, analyze, or convene around the Ethereum protocol or anything built with the Ethereum protocol. Clr.fund has been pretty successful so far in its early life at serving the Ethereum ecosystem. Last round, over 500 people contributed greater than 6,000 DAI to Ethereum public goods projects. And that was matched by over 12,000 DAI from the matching pool. And all told, at this early stage, the canonical instance of Clr.fund has distributed around 40,000 DAI to Ethereum public goods projects. That's really amazing. We love Ethereum, but is it the only domain that exists? Of course not. There are many, many domains out there, and each of them have their own public goods needs. And that is why we're building Clr.fund for everyone. Clr.fund for everyone, which starts with the Clr.fund deployer, is an easy way for DAOs, protocols, and communities to create their own version of Clr.fund so that they too can efficiently and effectively allocate resources towards the most valuable public goods in their domain. So why should your community use quadratic funding? Well, one common way to fund public goods within communities is with a grants committee. Grants committees are simple to think about. A group of people whose job it is to decide who gets grants. However, those grants committees place a lot of control and also a lot of responsibility in the hands of the committee members. Being on a committee is a hard job. It's a lot of work to review and debate the merits of applications, and it's even more work and potentially impossible to gather enough information to be sure that you know what is fully best for the entire community. Another way to say this is that central planning is very difficult to do well. If grants committees are like central planners, then quadratic funding is the market-based form of public goods funding. Instead of decisions being made by a select handful of people who can't possibly know everything about the needs of the community, in quadratic funding, resource allocation decisions emerge from the preferences of individual members of the community. So quadratic funding is or has low coordination overhead because there's no committee needed. It's credibly neutral because the protocol ensures that neither community leaders nor bribers can put their thumbs on the scale. And it reflects the needs of the entire community because the resource allocation protocol, quadratic funding, gathers input from all contributors. So if that sounds valuable to your DAO or your community or your protocol, we invite you to consider trying out Clr.fund for everyone. So how does that work? And what is the Clr.fund deployer? Well, as awesome as Clr.fund is, it takes a good amount of technical savvy to create a new instance. So what we're trying to do with Clr.fund deployer is to greatly simplify that process. And our goal is for anybody to be able to use it to create their own instance of Clr.fund for their community or their domain. With just a little bit of pointing and clicking and maybe some typing, with Clr.fund deployer, it's easy to deploy all of the things that you need for a Clr.fund instance. And that includes the funding round contracts, the Macy contracts, the ability to set parameters for your round duration and the token to use, set up a way to curate the funding recipients, such as with our Kleros TCR registry, set up a way to ensure that contributors are unique humans, such as with our Bright ID registry. And this part's really cool. We're also working on a no-code way to customize and deploy an app for your community to use your version of Clr.fund. Clr.fund deployer will be available across a lot of different EVM networks. We've already deployed some of our initial libraries and contracts to some of the Ethereum testnets, to mainnet, to Polygon and XDAI, and the Arbitrum testnet, and soon, once available, to Optimism, and probably many more as more come online. So it's still pretty early, but we've made pretty good progress so far. Here is a sneak peek of the deployer app in wizard mode. We're currently tweaking some of our UX flows and also working on the app deployment side of things, like I was talking about just a second ago. If you're interested in trying it out for your community, we would love your input and to work with you on that. All right. So Clr.fund, including Clr.fund for everyone, is built by an open collective of contributors, and we're funded by grants as well as our own matching rounds. If you are interested in helping us build Clr.fund, or want to use Clr.fund for your own project, or just want to learn more, you can find us on Twitter or on our forum or on Discord. Thank you very much.